Just getting used to this platform. All right. Hey, everyone. I am Django, and I'm a longtime contributor of Handshake. So I'm just getting, I'm going to go to my other tab now. So the thinking that inspired this conversation is Handshake just needs to survive, right? And how does it survive? So long as we can keep it going, it can survive until some event happens. And I know that Handshake started with the ethos of gifting. However, to keep your business that is based on decentralized naming alive, you need to start earning revenue. There's got to be profitability. So now that kind of thinking inspired the direction of my talk, which is, well, what sorts of applications could be informed by the infrastructure that we've built today, and in the future, how much network effect and distribution could maybe one of your projects eventually get. So this is naming applications in the advent of AI. We know we can ignore AI. It's here, and I am going to assert that most of the applications in the future are going to use AI in some way, shape, or form. So this is sort of like a strategic layout for 2025 and beyond. We're thinking, 10 years, 20 years down the line, can what you're building today become profitable, sustain your business so that you don't leave Handshake, so that in the future when some big event happens, we're all still here building something useful, some application that many people use. And then that's ultimately going to manifest the ultimate vision of Handshake, where everyone's using a decentralized subdomain. So first of all, background. Is Handshake dead? So I kind of alluded to this, right? Is it dead? Well, the price action is one story, but that's not the whole story. The blockchain keeps going, just like Bitcoin does, just like Dogecoin did, just like Litecoin continued to chug along. And the Doge case study was such that there was nothing going on in Dogecoin for 10 years until Elon came along and he thought the meme was funny and he started talking about it, and now Dogecoin is worth a lot of money, right? It's one of the few first generation coins that is still in the top 10. It's never really sunk below top 10, right next to Bitcoin. Everything else in the first generation of blockchains has fallen to the wayside below top 10. So this same thing could happen to Handshake so long as the blockchain keeps chugging along and blocks keep getting mined. Then something like that could happen. So this is what I mean when I talk about some some awesome event, this like 1 to 100 moment. That can happen. It hasn't happened yet, but it can happen sometime in the future. And that's why those of us building here, need to sustain our business to keep the party chugging along, so to speak. The metaphor of Handshake being a gun or like a weapon is, I think I like to use this metaphor a lot. Like, what is one thing that you don't necessarily need in everyday life, but you absolutely have to have if shit hits the fan? And that's a gun, right? You don't want to be able to, you don't want to have to use it, but when you do have to use it, you're damn well you're damn well happy to have it, right? So that's what it is. We're trending towards, I don't know if you've paid attention, but we're trending towards a future of financial surveillance, centralization of technologies, right? There's giant companies doing like running in the AI race. The FANG companies centralize all your data, and then they track you to like very precise levels, and they infer your demographic and what you like and what you don't like, and feed you ads. special suited for your preferences. And so all this information that these giant companies have ultimately converge in a future where there is no opting out. It's hard to escape and get privacy anywhere without your phone listening to you, your computer listening to you, anything with an internet connection listening to you. And so it's sort of a dystopia hedge. It's we, we need to have this to circumvent certain actors in the future that are much more powerful than we are as individuals. So it's a dystopia hedge. So I'll share with you my macro lens of the world. We're currently in the attention economy, and this is the capturing and monetizing attention has been a way to get alpha, the way to make money. And that has been dominated by influencers, people with eyeballs. So I think that meta is about to change, and we're about to shift into a new meta where attention is no longer the digital gold, so to speak. It's going to be intimacy. And the reason why I say that is because everyone will have their own AI. The AI is learning about you as you ask it questions, and it stores data about you. So just like a friend, like a close friend does. A close friend remembers things that you like, what you don't like, what you work on, and like all these little nuances. And so once more and more people become dependent on AI, it's almost as if you have a pocket boyfriend, girlfriend, executive assistant, employee, whatever. It's going to know enough about you to have that knowledge about you, have as much knowledge about you as an intimate partner does. So because it has such precise information about each individual, it's even more effective than an influencer. It's going to be more effective than the attention economy. So now we're going to shift into the intimacy economy, and the conversion rate for intimacy is so much higher. Like think about any time you've had just like a candid conversation with a best friend, and then you're like, oh yeah, like this is going on in my life right now, or I'm trying to have a baby or whatever, and then your best friend just happens to have gone through the same experience before, and they give you like a cheat sheet. They're like, oh yeah, I recommend this doctor and that doctor to do this, whatever. Or if you want like a birth in a tub or whatever, I know like the right doctor too. So the AI will be able to feed you different suggestions based on what your needs of that time is. Like if it realizes you're kind of sad, maybe it'll recommend a therapist. And so now you could fold in e-commerce, advertising, affiliate marketing into the AI product, and it's going to the end user feel like a candid conversation with the best friend. So you can imagine how high the convertibility of that is going to be compared to Instagram or TikTok or whatever feeding you advertisements, right? Because the advertisements you could clearly see that it's an ad, even though, it's feeding you stuff that you typically like. But the AI, most people are just going to forget that that's the case, and they're going to think, oh, well, my AI companion is actually genuinely looking out for my best interest. So I am going to see check out this list of 5 doctors that it sends me, and I'm going to go there. So that's how intimacy is going to be monetized. And the TAM for that is really, really big. I'm using 276 billion as the current TAM of like the entire advertising market. But that TAM is only going to grow bigger in the future. So where's the opportunity? Well, these five, I guess, tablets are some ideas about, like, these are the existing infrastructure that we have now. AI companionship being one of them, with your pocket girlfriend, Pocket Boyfriend. That's something that I happen to be building right now. Decentralized names. We have that right now, right? AI filters, VTubers, privacy preserving content creation, advertisement, crypto wallets that are going to be managed by your AI executive assistant. Some sorts of applications could be in tourism, could be in being an EA. Obviously, it's going to be powered by Google, but no one's going to have to go to Google things again. And what I alluded to, ads hidden in daily conversation. So the way that I believe we should monetize names in the future is, so if you look at the ENS model, with like selling subdomains as like T's and like launching a token off of it, that's a really 2017 meta, as in it's old, it's the past, and I don't think it's the best way of scaling decentralized names and distributing it to the masses, right? Like the people who hold ENS names are still very, very niche. They're part of like a subgroup within a subgroup. And so it's not really widely adoptable, and therefore it's a thing of the past. And it's hard to compete with like registrars and companies that are in the traditional domain space, right? So I don't believe really that selling TLDs or selling subdomains themselves is really where the big opportunities are. I think it's going to be that needs to be distributed widely and freely. So if you have one TLD, let's just say .cosmos, and that's what we're going to talk about after I give this presentation. If the Cosmos Foundation has that, and then it distributes it for free to like a subdomain for free to like everyone in the Cosmos community, it gets wider distribution. But that acts as your access point. It acts as your single sign-on or gateway into the destination application that they actually want to get into. And the destination application could be anything. It could be a Pokemon game, it could be the AI companion, or any of the applications that I previously alluded to. And so the upsell after you distribute the freemium model would be to sell subscriptions or some service from your destination your destination application. And on top of that, if you have like an intimacy AI or like some other EA, like service oriented AI, you could fold in the advertising that I alluded to before. So these are just some ideas to inspire you to think about. Yeah, and that's it. That's the end of my presentation. And I hope that you walk away from this getting some more like business ideas going so that you could keep your business going for the long term. Hopefully you can keep generating revenue for the next 10 to 20 years, right? Until Elon tweets about Handshake in the future, or whoever. Yeah. So if Magnus is here, unless he's not, so I wanted to bring Magnus up here. Magnus is he's one of the people running the Cosmos Foundation right now, the Interchain Foundation. And Interchain Foundation is currently talking to D3. D3 is a kind of Web3, Web2, Web3 bridge that registers names. I can, some of you must with it.
He's coming up in a minute, just so he's chatting to us.
Okay, yeah. And so they are registering .cosmos with ICANN with cooperation from the ICF. All Cosmos naming systems are already integrated with Handshake, and so that .cosmos will be integrated with Handshake, .cosmos as well. Yeah, and probably we'll do some kind of freemium model, like I mentioned, and for the better distribution, and then hopefully all the layer 1 foundation names hopefully can be integrated with Handshake, and then we'll finally do the Dane thing and bypass TLS. Yeah. So yeah, that's my presentation. If you guys have questions, please go ahead and ask them in the general chat. And Magnus,
you were waiting for him. I think he is here, but there's just some set up. Oh, he's here. He's here. Okay, great.
All right. Hey, Magnus.
I'm very sorry. I thought this was EST, but it was PST.
I'm sorry. I should have clarified. Yeah.
All good. Is there anything I can be helpful? I'm sure you gave a great presentation, but is there anything that I could add on?
Oh, so I just gave everyone the download about what's going on with .cosmos, that C3 is working to register .cosmos with ICANN, and there's going to be some integration with the Handshake.cosmos so that there is no naming collision between the ICANN one and the Handshake one. So we've had to, in the past, there are a few cases of naming collision, and that got resolved, namely being .music. So there was the owner of .music, great guy. I met him in person and helped him resolve that conflict. And so once the ICF is the holder of .cosmos, it can integrate it once the .cosmos name on ICANN gets registered. Which, by the way, that's going to be like probably at least like a 5-year minimum endeavor, because you're working with ICANN, by the way.
Gotcha. Well,
yeah.
Alive in 5 years.
What's that?
But hopefully, I'm still alive in 5 years.
Yes. I hope you will be. I know I will be. Yeah, but let's. I hope you'll still be alive from all the work at the ICF you're doing.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I mean, hey everybody, I'm Magnus. I work at essentially the Cosmos Foundation, and we've been building Cosmos technology and trying to build this open version of the internet since roughly 2017 when it first came out. When Chango mentioned this idea, I thought it was really awesome. I mean, I would personally change all of our domains at the foundation level to .cosmos, and even at the labs level, which are, I think, at minimum 10 to 20 websites. I thought that was really, really cool idea. And it's funny because we have basically our own version of ENS in Cosmos, which is done by Stargaze. So ENS is sort of like domains in crypto, but we have a .cosmos there already. But it would be great to link those to real sites. People are
Yeah. Stargaze has their Handshake name, and so actually their names are completely resolved with Handshake. So theirs are completely on chain, so they don't have like an ICANN portion. And same with ICNS, the interchain name system with what Kepler built. Theirs resolves to almost, well, theirs. So they do synthetic TLDs. So they do .osmo, like whatever, like name your Cosmos layer 1, but it's not actually, I don't believe it's actually like it's more of a like a synthetic simulated TLD.
That's right. Yeah.
Whereas with what D3 is going to help us do is actually register with ICANN. But again, that's a really, really long roadmap, because I believe that they actually closed the applications last year. So it's like it takes a few years for them to even open it back up.
I see.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's like one of those things. The ICANN Web 2 world operates in decades, right? They're like sea turtles. And we're like, we're gonna die by the time you open your applications up.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I will be around for that. I'm very happy to help. Yeah.
Can you share what the latest conversation with D3 has been?
I think having Nico explain some of that, our CMO, would be really helpful. I think from my perspective, it's not been my focus area recently. But as far as I understand, he's the one that is managing that relationship. And I could probably give you I could probably check with him and give you sort of an update.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Okay. We could take questions from the audience if you guys have. Excuse me. If you guys have any questions. Yeah. Otherwise, I think we've gotten the point across. Yeah. By the way, Magnus, the unit of account on Handshake is called $.
I see. Very cool. I like that.
We should come up with a name for a unit of count, a single atomic unit of a cosmos or of a atom. Yeah.
Yeah, something better than you atom at a minimum.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, okay, we'll collect questions. Yeah, okay. Can I like, okay, well, anyway.
There's a Q&A tab. I don't know if you see it, but
Okay,
there's
Alex.
a couple.
All right,
And then
Alex. Sorry, I was just going to read it. Yeah. Alex asks, do we believe that every AI agent and girlfriend will need a unique identifier like an SLD? That is a good question. Have you thought about that, Meg?
How much have I thought about AI girlfriends? Well, hopefully not too much, since my actual girlfriend would be upset about that. But I think it could be interesting. I don't necessarily know that they will need them. I think the unit identification could be in multiple different places, right? So you could imagine within a domain, you could have a bunch of sub-specific names for the actual AI agents. And you wouldn't actually have to have like a specialized one necessarily. I think this is actually a place where crypto is really good, right? Because like, for example, in Stargaze, you could register these without having to go to ICANN each time or create separate full Web 2 domains. And I think I see that starting to happen a little bit. But yeah, I mean, giving more identification to AI agents, I think, is something that's going to be coming up in a very big way in Web 3.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, it does make sense that like why not? Like why wouldn't an individual agent have its own subdomain, you know, and you might even in the future be able to query a specific agent that's, I don't know, good at a specific task, or if you just wanted to talk to it because it had some like little personality quirk or something, you'd be able to query it based on a subdomain. Why not? We should build that.
Definitely possible. Yeah.
Alex asks, you are applying to the .cosmos general TLD with the goal of bringing the Web3 .cosmos to Web 2.
I wouldn't say that's the goal. I think the goal would be to basically create a native domain for our ecosystem. Our ecosystem is pretty vast. It has over 150 blockchains included inside of it. It has over $100 billion of real money secured on top of the technology in aggregate. And I think the goal would be to, what we say our goal is, and what I do believe is what we are trying to create with Cosmos is an internet of blockchains, right? That's how we frame it. And the idea is for that internet to be a lot more open and competitive with the traditional internet, and to have it be user owned and much more censorship resistant and have these properties that we believe are really important for the future of humans. And so I think in this case, it's like really giving that internet of blockchains in a internet identity in Web 2, right? So that it feels more native, that folks can identify that they're on this other internet, right? This internet of blockchains. And I think the fact that we have a .cosmos already on Web3 rails in Cosmos is just a reflection of that, right? Like people love the identity of Cosmos. They want to use it. They want to use it personally. They want to use it professionally for their websites, but we don't have the ability to actually host things there. So I think what we try to do is connect the two, right? So if you have for example, I'm magmar.cosmos. That's my domain. Like I could connect that to a real website, right? Right now I own the website maghn.us, which is like my name. But I'd love to switch that to something that reflects sort of where my professional career is and things like that.
Olga asks, so you applied for ICANN? You applied .cosmos for ICANN? We did touch on that a little bit.
Oh, like that domain specifically, ICANN.cosmos or?
No. .cosmos application on ICANN.
Yeah, Nico would be the best to speak to that, just in terms of the status of that application.
Yeah, so I had spoken to D3 I believe it was last year, or maybe like towards the end of 2023, and they were pushing me. They were saying that, okay, well, like the registrations are closing, right? It's like it's like a multi-layered process. Like the first part of the process is like there's an application just to like open an auction for a name, and that was that. And then once there's interest for a domain name, then they open up the auctions, like bidding and everything, and then it actually gets registered. So like in that period, typically 10 years elapses. So we actually missed the window because during that time, it was the previous leadership at the ICF, and they were unresponsive. and then now, like the conversation is going, but then we have to wait for the application window to open up again. And so I don't know when that is, but from what I understand, I think the next window opens up in about 3 years, maybe 2 years from now, because the year had elapsed. Okay. Yeah, that answers Santiago's question. What's the estimated timeline to get a .cosmos name? Okay, Pencil Domains asks, Cosmos as a suggestion should handle any subdomain as a name under ld.cosmos. Imagine pencil.cosmos would exist as pencil.hns.cosmos domain in traditional sites. Did you think about it?
What do I think about it? Sure. Yeah. I think it just depends sort of what people would want in this case. And personally, I mean, my recommendation here would be to sort of try to, as an ecosystem, co-opt the .cosmos pure domain. Domain, and basically make it feel more native by just doing something .cosmos and having that association build, which would require like a lot of investment, a lot of folks to use that domain. So a good example of this, right, is .money. So .money was not really a very popular domain name. I think it sounds a little bit like overly commercial or something, but it was used by the Terra ecosystem. And of course, Terra didn't end well, but they all used that. It was Terra.money, and every project within it renamed .money. And the result of all that was people feeling like, that's like our native domain name, right? And I think when you create that, it's really cool.
That asks, this the same tech as .stars on Cosmos or the Osmo one from Sunny?
They're both similar. Both are domain name services built on top of Cosmos Rails. In this case, they're competitive, right? Stargaze and the Osmo one compete with each other. As far as I last checked, or when I last checked, the Stargaze one was generally more adopted. But the technology is quite similar. They use the distributed ledger of the blockchain to basically encode a least parameterized loan for a certain essentially domain name, and then they have a smart contract there somewhere that basically stores who has rented what.
Yeah, and the Stargaze one is integrated with Handshake, so they can resolve websites. They can. It's just not like officially registered on ICANN. And I believe the ICNS one, the Osmo one from Sunny, I believe they also own .osmo on Handshake. I don't recall if it's integrated with Handshake just yet. I remember they've got their primary thing is Kepler. And it's built by Josh and Tony from the Kepler team, not Sunny from Osmosis. John McKeown asks, could I create some dually functioning Web3 identity by leveraging between my Handshake name, 9JA Cosmos, and registering 9JA.cosmos?
Sure. You would have to create that link, right? So I suppose like you would have to sort of register both options, and then I guess it would just depend on the nature of the link, right? So for example, if you wanted, let's say, messages forwarded to something to then be passed to the other, or an email from one to link to a website, which then links to your Web3 domain, all those would be possible.
Magnus, I have a question. In the future, once the ICF has the Handshake.cosmos domain, and let's say it's fully integrated with our naming stack, would a user need to duplicate registrations, or would they just be able to go and buy a subdomain off of like, I don't know, like ICF or whatever, or like get a subdomain from ICF and just go from there?
Yeah, I mean, probably the way I would do it is the initial custody of the domains was with the ICF. Then probably work with the provisioners of the .cosmos domains already in Cosmos in the Web3 form, and basically say, work with them to say something like, okay, if you have this .cosmos on Stargaze or on Kepler or whatever, then we'll just give you free access to the .cosmos one that is the Web2 equivalent. That's probably what I would want to do.
Yeah.
So that there's some continuity and it's not people don't see the ones that they know that other people will want. Like that's probably how I would structure it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. John McKeown asks, where does Cosmos have potential for technical integration? EVM, BRC20, BRC69, SPL, token 2022?
I know some of those. There's a lot of stuff going on with Cosmos. I mean, Cosmos is a stack to build blockchains on top of, right? It's the most used blockchain stack in all of crypto. And we're adding some things to it that we think are really special. So very soon we'll be adding our own canonical EVM deployment so that you can build a Cosmos L1 with an EVM on top and deploy Solidity smart contracts and things like that. In the future, we want to add other VMs too. So big one that we're chatting to the Solana team about is SVM. And basically our goal is really to make the stack as customizable as possible and as extensible as possible, which means being able to integrate with everything. You may have heard of IBC or use IBC. That is the ability, that is the bridging standard that all Cosmos chains have to transfer tokens to and from other blockchains. We are actually adding a new version of that very soon in the next 2 weeks, which will enable IBC to connect to Ethereum natively. That's what we call IBC Eureka. So these are I'd say the Ethereum focus, the EVM plus the connection to Ethereum right now is big for us.
Is IBC Eureka built in-house, or is that what Polymer is building?
That is built in-house. So there's only one IBC team, and it's the IBC team at the ICF, as it has been since the creation of IBC. And IBC Eureka builds on IBC v2, which is a modified protocol spec that enables native IBC to extend. Polymer, Union, Axelar, these are all folks that sort of built third-party bridges that resemble IBC but are not IBC themselves.
Yeah. What about Toki, the one that they're building, the one with between Ethereum and BNB chain?
I'd have to take a look at it. I haven't looked at that one too closely.
There should be, I don't know, there should be some kind of like IBC extensibility with like all the people building different flavors of IBC, right? I don't know.
I mean, there can be flavors of IBC, but IBC is not, is a specific protocol, right? Like when you say IBC, it's IBC, right? It has a certain code implementation. It has a certain set of security properties. And what we found is folks that extend IBC, they can extend IBC, but oftentimes with additional work and additional implementation details and additional security assumptions. So that is sort of what we mean by we want to protect the IP of IBC because it is a specific implementation. And if everyone called themselves IBC and one of them got hacked and reflected on the actual IBC protocol, then that would be challenging, right? Because IBC itself, the actual protocol, has never been hacked, ever, in over 4 years. And so that's why folks that say, oh, we're IBC for X, that doesn't resonate so much for us because you're a bridge, right? You're not IBC, but maybe you have an IBC-like implementation.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Migs, you're up. Seems like you're kicking us off.
I would never do such a thing, but the agenda does have to go on. I think Andrew Lee is here to hop up next, so I was mostly checking to see if that was the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, thanks so much, Django and Magnus. You can just turn off Mike and Cam and you'll move off stage, but thank you so much for sharing.
This event wouldn't be possible without our amazing sponsors. Our bronze sponsors, DWeb Foundation, .x, our community sponsors,